What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the North Shore 9 Postgame Show powered by Primanti Brothers. I'm Jim. With me tonight is Neil. Neil, an absolute roller coaster of a game, and it ends with the Pirates on the losing side. How you doing tonight outside that, Neil? How is Neil doing?
I was doing well until the game was played.
Well, it was a fun game. Like, let's not I don't want to poo-poo on the game. Like, this was a very I was entertained tonight for a solid 4 hours. The game, it's 6:40 start time. It's 10:50 p.m. now. I watched baseball to be entertained. This was entertaining. Very frustrating, right? This is a very frustrating game. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, but in the end, the Pirates lose in extra innings today, 9-8 to the San Diego Padres. Yeah, it sucked. It sucked. Let's just say that. But we'll talk all about it before we do. Bet Online. It's the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet Online. The game starts here. Where do you want to start with this one? I kind of want to start in the 8th inning.
All right.
I feel like that's where it got real interesting, uneasy, high theater. It was a pretty intense end of the game today. But it kind of started with, the Pirates had a 1-run lead, 6-5 lead in the 8th inning. Aroldis Chapman comes in to face the Padres. He he had this at bat to Manny Machado to end the game. And he threw one pitch 105.1 miles per hour. He ends up striking out Machado just on a dot on the inside corner, 104.7. Stares him down. Machado's kind of just smiling because it's like, what are you supposed to do with 104.7 on the inside corner? That was an entertaining moment. Like I said, we talk about how this game was entertaining. That was an entertaining moment. You don't see 105 flash up on the scoreboard too much.
No, it was, I think, the fastest pitch of the StatCast era ever recorded.
I think it was tied for the fastest, I want to say. Yeah.
Okay. And it was dotted too. It was on the corner. It barely clipped the plate. It was about as perfect as a pitch as you could have hoped for. And it was big because it came off of that terrible decision to let Luis Arias flop and do a little bit of theater.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That was the same inning. Luis Arias, they roll it a hit by pitch. Shelton challenges it. The replay, the ball clearly hit the bat, right? It's just a matter of, did it graze his finger? After seeing they showed a replay at the very end there, and I was like, it may have grazed his finger. So I understand going with the rolling on the field there. But yeah, that 8th inning, he bounced back from that. It was a hit by pitch and then a single. So it was first and second, one run lead, and he came back. He struck out Xander Bogaerts, struck out Manny Machado. Can't ask for much more than that.
No, he did his job today. Not a whole lot of people did their job today, but Chapman was one of them.
Chapman did his job today. So that takes us to the bottom of the 8th. Pirates go down in the bottom of the 8th. They end up making a little bit of noise. O'Neal Cruz got hit by a pitch. Michael A. Taylor singled, but then Kutch and Reynolds both strike out to lead those two stranding. But then we're going to the 9th. We got a 1-run lead. David Bednar comes into the game facing the team that traded him to the Pirates. And Jackson Merrill, man, he was a menace today. What was he? 4 for 5. Jackson Merrill, 4 for 6.
4 for 6. Two homers. Yeah, 3 RBI, 3 runs scored.
Yeah.
He was crazy today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he tied the game in the 9th too with a huge home run off of David Bednar. That was his 15th homer of the season, his 2nd homer of the game. He's going to be your National League Rookie of the Year runner-up to Paul Skeens. He very well deserves that. He's having a hell of a year. And the Pirates we just didn't have an answer for him today. So he comes in, delivers that blow against Bednar. Bednar now 3 straight games giving up a run.
The bullpen's not good right now.
I was going to say, David Bednar not pitching well, lining up simultaneously with Colin Holderman not pitching well. It's just that's not what you hope for this time of year.
No, it's I don't think I was on any of the games where Holderman was blowing. Like I think a lot of people said he blew the season single-handedly. But I mean, talk about the worst time for both those guys. Like you could not have picked a worse time because I still think they're both talented pitchers. But man, like getting the worst. I guess it wasn't the worst of Bednar, but again, the worst of Holderman and a shaky Bednar is the worst of both worlds. And I have a lot of opinions about this team, but if they just do what their jobs and what they normally been doing, we're probably 5 games over 500 instead of one game.
At least that. I mean, I talked about on Sunday. If Colin Holderman just doesn't lose those 3 games last week, the Pirates are 59 and 52.
Yeah.
So you kind of just do the math there. They're 60 and 53 if they split these first 2 games of this series.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting pretty at that right at that point.
Yeah, you feel really good, but now it feels deflating. It feels like the season's, if it's not over, it feels pretty close to over. And it's those fine marks.
It is very close to being over at this point. This loss drops them below 500. I haven't had a chance to peek at like the standings, see what everybody else did, but I know Arizona won twice today. They swept Cleveland. So like as of right now, the Pirates are 4 games out of the wild card, mostly because the Braves just keep losing. The Braves are kind of the Pirates' saving grace right now. But yeah, 4 games out. The Pirates are only a game ahead of the Cubs at this point. Game ahead of the Cubs. Wow. That's how bad this thing has gotten. Game ahead of the Cubs, game and a half ahead of the Reds.
I mean, at this point, I think the division's most likely at this point. Like I don't know if you look at this team and see them jumping 4 teams by the end of this.
No,
the offense isn't good enough. We'll get into it, but there's a lot of dead weight on this team. And when the pitching's not going on a pitching dependent team, you're not going to win a whole lot of games.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that dead weight. And I think me and you are going to get into it a little bit because you like to defend the manager. I will defend him when he needs defended. I will criticize him when he needs criticized. And guys, I'm going to criticize the manager tonight. So Neil, buckle up for that.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, I think what I'll simply say is I disagree with some of what Shelton did tonight. But my thing is that when there are so many decisions that were like, if every like when you go to this chat here on the right and you see like why are like these 6 players being allowed to hit? what are we supposed to do here? Like, if everyone needs to be pinch hit for except like 3 players on the roster, there's a problem, right? And that's kind of where I lie. But we'll get into
Steel
those.
City's stuck in the parking garage. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty part of this game. It's a 6-6 ball game, bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
Pirates have a chance to walk it off. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa leads off with a base hit. Connor Joe reaches on a fielding error. So you've got first and second, nobody out. Here's the first decision where it's like, okay, let's assess what happens here. You've got Yasmani Grandal up to bat. Runners on first and second, nobody out. You need one guy to score.
Mm.
Yasmani Grandal bats. He lays down a sacrifice bunt. A successful sacrifice bunt. Like, I'll give Grandal credit here because a lot of players on this team do not know how to do that. Yasmani Grandal lays down a successful sacrifice bunt, moves Joe and Kiner-Falefa over to second and third. At this point now, you just need to put a ball in the air. You need to find a gap in a drawn-in infield. You just need to put the ball in play somewhere where they aren't, or deep enough, and you win this game, right?
Yep.
So Grandal sacrifice bunts. What do you think about that decision? First off, sacrifice bunting right there.
I don't hate it. I mean, I go back and forth on sacrifice bunts, but I feel like sacrifice bunting to get runner to second and third, one out is a fine move. It prevents a double play, and you don't even need to get a hit. Like, you don't need to get a hit. So I have no problem with that.
Nice. It would have been real nice, right?
Here's
my take on it. Yeah, I think you know what? Yasmani Grandal, I don't even think he's hitting 200 on the year, right? He's hitting 196, right? My philosophy with sacrifice bunts is basically, if you are a pitcher or if you're hitting like a pitcher, I'm okay with you sacrifice bunting in a situation that calls for it. I'm okay with that decision. It paid off. It did work. That moved the runners over. If you're into analytics and win probability and all that good stuff, the successful sacrifice bunt improved the Pirates' chances of winning that game by 3.3%.
Yeah.
All right. The Pirates went from 80.5% chance to win to an 83.8% chance to win because of the sacrifice bunt. That's a positive play.
I trust Grandal to lay a bunt down more than I trust Grandal to get the winning hit.
Yeah.
And also, he's slow. If that's a ground ball, that's a double play. Like, that is, it's not so.
Yep. So here's where I guess the first decision comes in, right? You've got Brian Hayes intentionally walked. Ji-Hwan Bae now batting with one out and the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth inning of a tie game. I'll say that again. Ji-Hwan Bae batting in the ninth inning of a tie game with the bases loaded with one out. You can't let Ji-Hwan Bae hit there. You can't let him hit there. Plain and simple. I know it was like you got the righty-lefty pitching matchup, but you acquired two bats at this deadline, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Brian De La Cruz, right? And say what you will about either of those two guys, but you acquire those bats for the sole purpose that when a game is on the line, you're not having to bat Ji-Hwan Bae with the game on the line. Like, Ji-Hwan Bae, that the reason for those acquisitions is so Ji-Hwan Bae doesn't have to play all that much, right? And you've got Brian De La Cruz sitting on your bench. You've got Joey Bart sitting on your bench, and you're letting Ji-Hwan Bae, who is hitting 186. He's slugging 209. The dude can barely hit the ball out of the infield. You're letting Ji-Hwan Bae take a cut there with basically, like, I mean, this is a season affecting at bat that he let Ji-Hwan Bae take there. What does he do? Ground ball, 85 mile an hour ground ball straight into the dirt, right to the second baseman. Fielder's choice, out at home.
Yeah. Ji-Hwan Bae. I'll first this. If Ji-Hwan Bae cannot drive in a run with the bases loaded, 1 out, a lefty versus righty matchup. What is he doing on this roster? Why is he rostered? I would rather see Jack Suwinski than see Ji-hwan Bae. And Jack Suwinski's been one of the worst players in baseball this year. Like, Ji-hwan Bae does nothing. And you know how I know he's useless? Because Ji-hwan Bae faced a righty. And immediately after he grounds out, that's when they bring in the lefty. They didn't even fear him enough to put in the right matchup. Now, I don't think that Brian De La Cruz would actually have done anything if he was brought in, because I don't think Brian De La Cruz is very good. But yeah, you probably should pinch hit for him. But at the same time, the players have to play and the players have to execute. And there are so many players on this roster that don't do it.
The players have to play. The players have to play, Neil, but you also need to put your better players in the game to perform when you need them. Now, that's what that situation calls.
But when Brian De La Cruz has been hitting like Ji-hwan Bae ever since he showed up here,
nobody's been hitting like Ji-hwan Bae. I'm gonna take Brian De La Cruz's 3-year career and just say I want him in there over Ji-hwan Bae. I don't care what Brian De La Cruz has done in the last 4 games since acquiring him. I don't want Ji-hwan Bae hitting that situation. And you had 2 options. You had Bart, you had Brian De La Cruz. Brian De La Cruz was the play there. He just goes right into right field where Bae was at. That's why you got him. It would be different if Brian De La Cruz was just some role player on this team, but that's not why they got him. They got Brian De La Cruz so that he can drive in runs for this baseball team. And you had a ton of opportunities in the 9th inning and the 10th inning to use him to drive in runs, and they just let him sit on the bench. Ji-hwan Bae had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position in the 9th and 10th innings. They let Ji-hwan Bae hit with runners in scoring position 4 different times tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't start Bae in the first place. I would start Brian, and again, as the biggest Brian De La Cruz hater I think out there, I wouldn't give Bae a start over him. I would have pinch hit for him, and which is crazy because I think everyone's heroes. I would have pinch hit for him, but at the same time, again, why are we rostering players who can't hit like Ji-hwan Bae?
I get that. Like, Ji-hwan Bae doesn't need to be on this team. If it's up to me, you're trading Ji-hwan Bae to that new league in Saudi Arabia. Let him play over there. And you're calling up Nick York, you're calling up Billy Cook, and you're sending down Jared Triolo. That's what I'm doing, right? Like, get Ji-hwan Bae out of my entire organization at this point. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him anymore. But get rid of him. But at this game, this time, you chose to hit him in a situation when you have a better option, plain and simple. So Bae grounds out. They bring in the lefty, like you mentioned. Tanner Scott comes in to face Oneil Cruz, who couldn't start today. He's still under the weather. Oneil Cruz grounds out against, it's a tough matchup. Tanner Scott is arguably the best left-handed pitcher in baseball right now. So tough matchup there. Cruz battles, but grounds out eventually. And that brings us to the 10th inning, where you bring in Colin Holderman, who's lost 3 straight games that he's been in the game. Runner on second to start off the 10th. Manfred rolls. Ha-Sung Kim walks. Xander Bogaerts singles. Padres up 7-6. Manny Machado sac fly. Padres up 8-6. Donovan Solano single. Jackson Merrill fly out. That Brian Reynolds had a great throw. It should have been an out. Yasmani Grandal dropped the ball at the plate. Padres go up 9-6. And Campusano lines out. So Holderman gives up 3 runs in the 9th. 2 earned. Actually, 1 earned because that first one doesn't count either. So 1 earned run, 3 runs. At the time, that 3rd run that came across there. I didn't think it was going to be that important. Turns out it was. Brian Reynolds, great throw from left field, right on the money. Grandal had it, tagged the runner, and the ball just pops out. It did look like Grandal took a pretty good hit to the head when that happened too, so I was kind of worried there may have been like some concussion issues there. He stayed in the game though, but that ended up being a pretty big out that they missed.
Yeah. And it really sucks because like when it rains, it pours, because I don't think Holderman gave up that bad of contact. Like, I really feel like that was a lot of weak contact that he gave up, but he just couldn't get outs. Like that, what was it? Someone hit it like a weak ground ball right into the hole between first and second, and then got followed up by Grandal not being able to field a baseball again. Like, this is like the fourth time this has happened where Grandal can't field a baseball being thrown to him, and it was a perfect throw. Like, you could not have asked for a better throw. And so when you roster so much dead weight, when you roster Yasmani Grandal, when you roster G1 Bay, when you roster Jack Sawinski and Jared Triolo and Connor Joe, this is what happens. This is the result you get when you actively choose to roster so many bad players who wouldn't make 25, 26 teams in baseball.
Yeah. I don't really want to get into the roster too much. It is what it is
Which
at
is
this
fair.
point. It is what it is. It's just Colin Holderman hasn't been good. Mm-hmm. This was just another outing where you had to go to him too in a high leverage situation for the fourth time. Colin Holderman has now lost 4 games in the last 8 days. Mm-hmm. 4 games in the last 8 days has been lost by Colin Holderman. That's awful. That's awful. You just don't lose those. Again, you go back to this. You don't win those. You don't lose those games, and you're 60-52. You're 60-52 if Colin Holderman is just the guy he was 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. 60-52. Instead, 4 straight losses, picks up the loss today. But that's not all. Like, you kind of thought, hey, you know what? Padres scored 3. This game's over, right? I'll give this Pirates team credit. And this is where I guess Derek Shelton deserves some credit, right? Like, this team does not give up, right? He may make decisions that I can't stand. And we're going to go over another one here in the bottom of the 10th. But the team doesn't give up on him. Like, they're constantly battling, and they battled today. They ended up, they drew a walk to lead off the 10th. I mean, Tanner Scott walked 3 straight batters to start the 10th. Michael A. Taylor walk, Andrew McCutchen walk, Brian Reynolds walk. So Brian Reynolds it walks in a run. 9-7. 9-7 Padres at that point. Then San Diego makes a pitching change. Adrian Morejon. Morejon. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. He comes in and he just starts off with a wild pitch. So all of a sudden, there's nobody out. You've got runners on second and third. You're down by 1. Like, you've got to put balls in play at this point. Someone hit a ball to the outfield. Someone hit a ball hard somewhere. That's all we're asking. Isaiah Kiner Falefa up to bat against Morejon. Hits the ball on the ground right to the shortstop. I don't know where Neil went, but Isaiah Kiner Falefa grounds into a fielder's choice. They get Andrew McCutchen out at home. Brian Reynolds advances to third on that. So you're still in a pretty good spot because you're at first and third, 1 out. And you're facing a lefty with Connor Joe up, where Connor Joe has not been the guy who we've been hoping he can be lately, but he's still pretty good against lefties. Like, if there's one thing he can still do, He can hit lefties all right. But he, I mean, you could say this was a big moment of the game. Connor Joe strikes out with runners on first and third, 1 out. Like, you've got to put the ball in play, and he couldn't do it. He strikes out against Morejon, and then that brings up Yasmani Grandal, who just got hit in the head. He's hitting 196. You got to get somebody here has to hit the ball. Somebody's got to hit the ball here. And you've got a lefty on the mound. And again, you've got Joey Bart on your bench. You've got Brian De La Cruz on your bench. What does Shelton do? He lets Yasmani Grandal hit. He grounds out to the shortstop. The Pirates score 0 runs after having runners on second and third, nobody out, down by 1 in the bottom of the 10th. They lose the game. So Yasmani Grandal ends it with a ground out. Joey Bart, Brian De La Cruz, both on your bench.
Yeah, I mean, I would have pinch hit too. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have anything to say about that. I don't know. You have to bat Triolo. Sorry, you have to bat Connor Joe because he's the lefty masher, and that's why you have him here. And I don't know who else is playing first if he's gone, but no, I would have pinch hit Grandal. And I think you touched on it earlier. Right? It's like Shelton is like he rides with his guys to a fault. Where like probably one of the reasons that players like him is because he will ride with them even when they are struggling. I think that's just a managerial style. And so, yeah, he'll ride with a Grandal. But sometimes you gotta pinch hit, and he didn't do that today. And I mean, Joe can play first base. IFK can play first base, okay, but who is playing second base? Like you're playing. It was great. It was just Bart and De La Cruz on our bench, right?
De La Cruz were on the bench, yeah. So you probably would have moved Bay to second. That would have been the play there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't know. Like, you pinch hit Grandal there. I'm surprised he stayed in the game.
Yeah, you absolutely do, and it just goes back to what I said before. Like, it's one thing if your bench is what it was prior to the deadline, but you just traded for a guy to make your lineup better and to come through and hit and drive runners in. Like, that was the whole point of acquiring Brian De La Cruz, is power bat, drive runners in, middle of the lineup guy. And you had more than one opportunity. I know that's not, like, believe me, there's better options out there, right? But that's who they settled on, right? And he was a clear upgrade to what they had. Right. Whatever you think, I don't think Brian De La Cruz is all that good, but clear upgrade to what they had. Right. And a clear upgrade to Yasmani Grandal or G1 Bay in a big moment of a must-win game. He's a clear upgrade. So that's it. It's an egregious mistake. Again, Shelton's the manager. That's his job. His job is to win games like this. And we lost this game with better options available that he just simply didn't use.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Like, again, I would have pinch hit multiple times. And I don't think like Shelton's like covered himself in glory like over the past couple of days with some of the decisions that he's made. I don't mind because it's worked before. I don't mind him continuing to ride with Holderman, especially since like our other options just aren't that good. But yeah, no, you should pinch hit for Yasmani Grandal. But Grandal's also
you have to. That's a decision you have to make.
I don't understand why Grandal is still here either. I mean, Henry Davis has nothing left to prove in AAA at this point. He's there for
even
fun.
Delay. I'd rather have Delay. I would rather have Delay or Davis.
Yeah, I would too. But Shelton made some very bad decisions tonight. I don't think the loss is on him. The bullpen again gives away another game, and when everyone in the bullpen is bad, like Stratton wouldn't look great. Chapman's really your only solid guy, and that's a problem.
I'll say this: like I don't think Derek Shelton is the reason the Pirates lost, right? But Derek Shelton didn't do everything in his power to help the Pirates win this game. That's where I'll leave it, right? Because at the end of the day, the players lost this game. I mean, the offense scored 8 runs. The pitchers gave up 9. That's an issue, right?
Yeah.
The players lost this game. But Derek Shelton did not do...
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Did not do what he needed to do
to
give the Pirates the best chance.
He has managed games a whole lot better than he did today. And this was not his... He didn't make the right decisions with the pinch hitters at all. But man, this bullpen is killing me. And that's where my ire is going, is the bullpen is just...
Well, this is a point I made yesterday on the post-game show when they let they went out there and they made Kyle Nicholas unavailable for the rest of the series because they had to get 2 2/3 innings out of Kyle Nicholas yesterday, right? They couldn't have put Colin Holderman in a low leverage spot to just get some work in. It would have been a perfect opportunity for him, right? Instead, you could have maybe had Kyle Nicholas available today to pitch that 10th instead of having to go to Holderman. This is Jack. This is my dad, actually. He makes a nice comment. He was picking up on what I was saying last night. Like this game, a lot of this has to do with the bullpen usage yesterday. Because if Kyle Nicholas doesn't have to, if you're not putting Kyle Nicholas out there for 50 pitches yesterday, Kyle Nicholas is your 10th inning guy today. You go to Kyle Nicholas there, you don't have to go to Holderman. And then all of a sudden, maybe it's not 9-6. Maybe it's 8-6 or it's 7-6. And next thing you know, the Pirates walk it off in the 10th. So again, I was confused with that yesterday because by pitching Kyle Nicholas 50 pitches yesterday, he couldn't go today. And you didn't have to pitch him 50 pitches yesterday. You didn't have to do that.
No,
they did that. He made a decision to do that.
And like even if he goes like 30 innings or 30 pitches, he's probably not available. But again, I think I said it before. It is Shelton is loyal to a fault, and even when you maybe shouldn't keep riding with someone like Holderman, he does it anyway. And in some cases, it works out. Like it worked out for Bednar. It has not worked out for Holderman, and it's come at the very worst time in the season.
Yeah, it's a bad time for the bullpen to struggle. That is for sure. Got a lot of comments on TikTok too. Sorry if I'm not getting to you guys on TikTok. Our software that we use doesn't allow me to really see your comments all that easily, but I see you. Appreciate you guys for watching. I do want to touch on, I mean, we spent 33 minutes on the last 2.5 innings of this game.
Yeah.
Other stuff did happen, right? It just didn't it wasn't as theatrical as the end there. But the Pirates jumped out on Michael King pretty early today. They ended up, they got on the board in the first inning. Rowdy Tellez with an RBI single going the other way. Ke'Bryan Hayes with an RBI single. This was all after an Isaiah Kiner-Falefa triple, his second triple since coming over. And I mean, it was one of those, it was a cheap triple, right? It was a single that bounced past the right fielder, but triple. Well, hey, box score says it's a triple. Marco Gonzalez started for the Pirates, which seems like he did that 6 hours ago at this point.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't all that long ago. He wasn't very effective. 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Did the Pirates pick the wrong lefty starter to hold on to, Neil?
No, no. I mean,
okay.
No, but he hasn't
yeah.
been as bad as Martin Perez, but he's not good either. And it's really scary to think that these were our 2 and 3 starters going into the season. Because Marco Gonzalez has been beat around quite badly the last 3 times out, hasn't he? Like
he hasn't looked good since coming off the IL.
It hasn't been
great.
good for Marco. Like, I think he had one good start off the IL, and since then he's been kind of getting beat around.
Yeah, and that was against the White Sox, so like that almost doesn't even count.
Yeah. And I think he only went like 5 innings that day too. So like clearly
5
he's
innings, 1 run, 7 hits. Yeah.
But today, like he was, and giving up a 3-run home run to Kyle Higashioka is just not what winning is. It's not what the Pirates need.
No, not at all.
And to be credit to the Pirates, they clawed their way back. Like they tied the game after that. It could have been like another one of those game over things, but the Pirates did claw back. But I mean, 5 runs from Marco Gonzalez today. Didn't even complete 5 innings. He wasn't good enough.
No, he wasn't. And the Pirates actually got to Michael King. Like Michael King's been on fire lately for San Diego, and they knocked him out after 5 innings, scored 4 runs off of him. They got to the bullpen, scored 2 off of Estrada. You mentioned just kind of coming back and coming back and coming back. Brian Reynolds expanded the Pirates' lead in the second to make it 3-1 with an RBI single. And then after that Higashioka 3-run homer in the fourth to put the Padres ahead, Andrew McCutchen immediately answered. Andrew McCutchen had a big game today. That solo homer in the fourth tied it up at 4. After Jackson Merrill took the lead in the 5th, again, Merrill had a huge game for the Padres too. But Andrew McCutchen again in the 6th, 2-run single for the Pirates to take the lead. So huge game from Andrew McCutchen. He struck out 3 times, but he walked. He had 2 hits. He drove in 3 runs. He scored. All in all, a really good game out of him and coming through in big moments when you needed him to. So that was, like I said, it was a roller coaster of a game kind of from the beginning. But once that 8th inning hit, this thing got crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was back and forth, and like you never really felt comfortable with that 1-run lead in the 6th. Going into it, like I was really nervous when Hunter Stratton came out, and then I don't even think Chapman had a clean inning. But it was very dramatic. It was one of those things where like when those games I've missed for a long time where like every pitch feels awful because like you're just waiting, like this games matter. You're competing for something, and so it was entertaining. But it's another bullpen loss, and it really sucks. Because even though they weren't great runs, you gotta win when you hit off Michael Cain. You really have to win these games, and the Pirates haven't been doing that. I mean, driving Cain out after 5 innings, 4 runs, 6 hits, like that's about as good as you could have hoped for coming into today.
Yeah. Well, and you've got to win the games that like you're performing on offense too. And I think that's the biggest thing we talked about on NS9 Live just last week. Like if you can score 4 runs, like that was the cutoff. It was like score 4 runs every game. And we said that on Wednesday or Thursday, we said that. But you look at these last few games and the Pirates have now lost 5 of 6. They're not in a good spot right now. But you look at these last 6 games, their last 5 losses, they've scored 4 runs. They've scored 8 runs. They've scored 5 runs. They got shut out yesterday. And then they scored 8 today. So like they're scoring runs. They're doing like this whole season, we've just been begging this offense, please just score 4 or more runs. They're doing it. They are doing it now. Now, what we've been relying on the entire season to win us games, they're failing. The bullpen is failing right now. The starting pitching has been okay. Skeens and Keller have been great. The rest of the guys have been a little shaky as of late, but the bullpen's been bad. And the offense is probably playing the best that we've seen the offense play all season. But now now the bullpen falling apart. And it's costing the Pirates again, 5 of the last 6 games they've lost in a stretch when you can't afford to be losing 5 out of 6 games.
Yeah. And I mean, and I don't think I've been as upset with, even though these have been brutal losses, and like it's not, it was a brutal loss. Like I don't think I've been like as like upset because like looking at the bigger picture, like the Pirates have been playing really good baseball for 2 months. And then like we finally kind of hit like a cold streak, right? And it's unfortunate that's against two teams that we need to beat for the wild card, right? And like that's the biggest problem. Like we hit it at the worst time. But I think I've tweeted this out. Like I'm way more upset about like the Athletic series or dropping all those games in April and May because we weren't going to play amazing baseball for like we were playing as one of the best teams in the big for 2 months. That we were going to slow down at some point. And so this hurts, but like this is why you win the winnable games early in the season because not every team is we're not good enough to play as a top 5 team in baseball like we did. Like that's just not who we are. And so it's unfortunate and it really hurts because like one game under 500, I think our playoff chances are sub 5% now. I think they were 5%.
I actually just checked them out right now. I've been tweeting out the playoff odds, every day for about a week now, and yeah, they've never been this low. They stand at 5.9% right now. That's behind the Cubs.
Yeah, like very Pirates, right? Where it all happens at the worst possible time, and
I mean the Pirates. The Pirates are 1.5 games out of last place. That's where we're at right now. They're 1.5 games out of last place in the NL Central,
which is crazy because like we're 500 since the deadline, right? Or since the All-Star break. Like we've gone 500 since the All-Star break. I think we're 8-8 now, and so we just it hasn't been terrible until recently. It just hasn't been good enough, which is a shame.
All right. This has been a long post-game show. We're in our 42nd minute. Appreciate the chat. You guys were lively tonight. It was a frustrating loss. So we're here to kind of vent because we just spent this whole game watching, but I'm happy that you all were here to vent along with us. Don't get too mad at Neil, guys. All right. Take it easy on Neil with his Derek Shelton takes. Everyone's got their flaws, right? So take it easy on Neil in the chat.
Also, just actually listen to what I say. I don't think you guys were listening to what I was saying, but that's okay. I appreciate you anyway.
But everybody, like I said, appreciate you all. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, hit the like button. Follow us. We've got tons and tons of Pirates content. So appreciate everybody who tuned in there. If you're listening to the podcast, leave a review. We love you guys. But yeah, appreciate everyone for hanging with us tonight after that roller coaster loss. Pirates lose. They drop to 56 and 57 on the year. And they got a big game tomorrow. They can't get swept by the Padres. So you've got to win tomorrow. It's a day game, 12:35. It's on MLB Network. Luis Ortiz versus Randy Vasquez at 12:30. So we'll have the post-game show for you, just like we do every single day. And hopefully tomorrow we're giving away free Primanti Brothers sandwiches. But other than that, that's all I got for you guys. Neil, you want to add anything?
Nope. See you tomorrow.
All right. We'll catch you guys later. Appreciate you all.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.
Yeah.